Okay, so I'm starting a series of video to help people who would want to learn R and really have no background in any form of programming, data analysis, and things of that sort. So I'm going to try to take it super slow and do a bunch of small videos showing tips and tricks and basic ideas, basic concepts that are important to be able to become autonomous in R, in learning more of R. The concept I'll be teaching will be very often very simplified and not necessarily a concept that is 100% accurate from the programming standpoint and so on and so forth. So what you're seeing here on the screen, this is the R program once you've downloaded it to your computer and you've opened it. This is how it looks on a PC. Okay, I'll try to do sets of videos for PC, sets of videos for Mac. Now, this is how it looks like here on PC, and you can see you have basically a screen that looks like any software on a PC. You have file, edit, view, and so on and so forth. You also have a window that opens, that's the R console. When you get the computer started, and I shouldn't have reshaped it, but I automatically does that, it looked something like that. And then what you can do, what I strongly encourage any learner to do, is to reshape the video so it takes a little bit less than half the screen. That window is called the R console. The R console is basically your eye into what's going on inside of the computer. That's how the computer talks to you. Okay, if there is any mistakes, if there is missing information and things like that, it's going to show you right here on the R console. As we're moving forward, I'll show you different functions here. Okay, but let's get started. Let's say you want to do your first R program. You're going to go to File, New Script, and then it opens a new video where you can see it says R, the software, untitled, you didn't save it, you didn't give it a name, dash R editor. R editor is where you are talking to the computer, or you are preparing to talk to the computer with that window. Same thing, just like the R console, I like to reshape it so it takes just a little bit less or just about the width and the height of the screen. Okay, another thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to save that R editor window, or I'm going to call it moving forward the script or the code. Script or code, that's the same thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that window is clicked, and that's very important to do that. When you click it, you select it for the program, so other actions that you will do will happen on that window that has been selected. You're going to do Control on your keyboard, Control, that's CTRL, and then S, the key S, and you push it in the same time. And it opens that window, and you can see the title of that window. It's Save Script As. That's why I'm calling it often a script. That's a piece of the software. And then I guess I'm going to save it somewhere. So for example, in here, in OneDrive, new, and I'm going to make a new folder. Okay, so how did I do that? I clicked on OneDrive, then I right-clicked to get that drop-down menu. I went to New, and I selected Folder. Then I can go here and click again, right-click again, and do Rename. And I'm going to call it, I don't know, Learning R. And then I'm going to double-click on that to open this, and I'm going to call it my first script to learn R, for example. Okay. So now you can see here, there is the whole path to the specific area or the specific folder where you've saved the script, and then it gives the name that you gave it, my first script to learn R. You can put any name there. Doesn't have to be the same than what I chose. And then you see .r. .r is what we call the extension. Just like you open a Word document, it's going to be .doc or .docx. Or you open an Excel sheet, it's going to be .xls or .xlss. And computers have a whole bunch of different types of file which have different file extension. .r is just one of the file extension. So this is the basic idea of writing a script. You write your script in the R programming language, but sometimes you want to leave notes for yourself. So to leave a note for yourself, you're going to do £, and that £, or hashtag, is where you can write comments to yourself. You can continue with another £, right? And even make sure we have the right case in the letters. This space, meaning the space where you put the £, is for any forms of comments. You can make jokes. There if you want. You see now, I've wrote a sentence that's long enough, and automatically the beginning has stopped being visible on the screen. And you can see at the bottom here in that bar, you're now in a navigation bar that allows you to go back and forth like this. So this is a question of personal preference. I personally hate this. So when I write a script, if I get at the end of my line here, I type enter, another £. So everything is within that window and I don't have to mess with scrolling sideways. Okay? So you can make jokes if you want, but that's not very useful, right? Really, here, where do you put the £? You can make notes of errors, troubleshooting, observations that you make, explanation for the future self, for your future self, I guess. You can also, programmers often like to think about the algorithm and what we call the pseudocode before really trying to write with the proper programming language. So this space too can be used to write your pseudocode. Okay, I'll talk about the pseudocode in another video a little bit more in details, and maybe without the typo. You can also use the £, to give sections of your code. And generally, it's just for any comments in a normal human language, in human language. Doesn't have to be English, can be any language. Okay. So now, this is a short introduction, but we haven't really written a program yet. Okay. Let's write a tiny little program. We're going to create an object. Okay, I'm going to do another video also that describes exactly what's an object. But let's create an object. Let's call it object, my object. And we're going to put inside of that object a series of value. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I've written here on my script, I have several lines of comments marked by a pound sign and one line that you can call a code line or a script, a command, and so on and so forth. This part here that's now highlighted, this is the only part that's really the program. The rest is stuff for you, the human being, but that part is for the computer. Now you'll notice in introduction, I said, hey, the R console is where you see inside of the belly of the computer, okay? Right now, there is nothing to see. All you see is a few lines here of the introduction telling you about the version and so on and so forth, and a strictly superior to sign, okay? This tells you, the computer is telling you, I'm ready to execute whatever you want me to in the proper R programming language, of course. So how do I get this line here from the script to be understood by the computer as something to be executed? I'm going to use another keyboard shortcut. On the PC, it's Control and R. I make sure the cursor, what I call the cursor is that little black line here that I'm circling around, where if I type enter, then that black line goes to the next line and is blinking, right? So I'm taking that black line by anywhere in that line of code here, and I'm not gonna do Control and R, okay? Now you can see what happened. That line has moved or has been copied and pasted, if you will, into the R console. And then almost instantly, you saw the strictly superior to sign appearing again. You don't have an error message, so it gives you a good indication that probably that line of code has worked. But you might want to make sure that it did work. So how you're going to do that? You're going to put another line, and you're going to put the same name of the object, exactly the same name, my object. I'm going to make a mistake just in purpose here to show you what happens if you don't give the exact same name. I transform the lowercase o of my object into an uppercase O of my object. And now I'm sending it to the console. And you can see an error here saying error, object, my object not found. Okay? So that is because you did a typo, or I did a typo. Let's replace it by the lowercase o and execute it again. Control R. I'm sending it to the console. And now you say it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. We successfully created an object and inspected the object.